Terry and Jakari, Jakai and a couple other situations, and they weren't able to hit those. Did you feel like those were close? Were those the right reads? Were the throws off? Were the receivers off? Why is that not working, you think?
Well, I think one of them, I mean, the throw was there, dropped the ball, and then another couple of them, him and Terry weren't on the same page. They brought a pressure. They bailed the corner out, but they bailed him out to middle ground. And a lot of the times when you have conversion routes and teams play in middle ground, your guys aren't on the same page. I mean, you see that all across college football all the time. And the corner bailed, and we didn't give him a good enough version of that look in practice where that guy bailed out, but he was open shoulders at the same level as the wideout. So the wideout ruled it as a soft corner, ran a hitch. The quarterback ruled it as we could run by him and through the fade. So we just got to give our guys kind of that middle ground look a little more, so it's not, clear as day. Is it a conversion or is it a keep it on look? So we got to do a better job as a staff making sure those guys see that look so we're on the same page.
Hey, Coach, can you talk about the rushing attack in that game, the decisions that were made with regards to going away from it and throwing it more, and also the decisions that might have been made by the quarterbacks, right and wrong with the degree of handing off or keeping their zone?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good early in the game. Obviously, we had a lot of success in normal downs. When we were in 1st and 10, we had one TFL, but other than that, we had a good amount of success. Thought there were a few times, especially in the second half, one time in the first half and a few times in the second half, we took perimeter when we didn't need to. We had a good box count, and that's just a learning experience for our guys, is understanding, hey, it's press corner out there. Let's hand the ball off and let's go and get 3 to 4 yards and make it 2nd and 6, 2nd and 7. And that showed up a few times in those situations when you face a good football team. I mean, there was one perimeter throw we took for -4, which we shouldn't have thrown. And when you have that happen 3 to 4 times in the football game, that takes 3 to 4 good runs out of it. And not only does it take 3 to 4 good runs out of it, it usually takes you from a 2nd and 6 or a 2nd and 7 to a 2nd and 11 or a 2nd and 10, which when you play a defense like Pitt is a drastic difference in how they're going to play, because it's going to take them from their 4-down base defense to their 3-down odd front, which is built to cause chaos and where they load the box. So pretty simple decisions, but they were pretty drastic in the overall plan.
You saw the offensive line success they were have earlier, I would say, especially in the run game. Do you think, did losing Vontae contribute to maybe the drop-off there? Do you think he is kind of that veteran, that leader of that group, or do you think just as Pitt brought more pressure throughout the course of the game, just made things tough for them?
Obviously, Devontae's a guy who is our leader. I mean, he's the guy who communicates. He's the guy who gets everybody on the same page. I mean, there's a reason he's been our offensive captain for, I believe, 6 straight weeks now, right? Because of the leadership for all those young guys up front, because we are extremely young up front. And when you have a guy like him who can communicate to everybody, that's huge. Now, to say he is not the end-all, be-all, and the only reason why we didn't have some success in the second half. I mean, their odd front and their array of pressures definitely got to us, and you got to give credit to them. They did a good job. When you play that type of defense, there is no way around scheming up to where you're going to get a one-on-one. That's why they play like that. They bring pressure, they isolate people in odd front, and they say, okay, you can either scheme us up, and if you scheme us up, we're going to get a one-on-one across the board, and you're going to have to win one-on-ones. And that's why they do that defensive scheme, is to create those one-on-ones. Now, when you win those one-on-ones, you're going to have huge explosives, but they make you win 5 one-on-ones. And there's really nothing you can do about it schematically, because the variety of things they do, it's impossible to prepare for the variety of the things they do, because they'll show you something different every week. So what you prepare for on tape is not the variety of that odd front you're going to see on game day. So you're going to get a different look than you've ever prepared for. So we tried to prepare our guys for a variety of looks, but at the end of the day, you got to win one-on-ones, and that was a senior-led team. And when we got into 2nd and 10s and 2nd and longs, when they got to be in that odd front and kind of move around, and they exposed us.
Coach, I'm hoping to hear your thoughts
what you saw from Joe Purdy and how you evaluated him in extended action, and I guess kind of a follow-up to that too. Is it difficult to get a full evaluation on him the last 2 games, given that he's played with like double-digit deficits? I guess that may limit some things that you guys can do schematically in those situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to remember that's a guy who wasn't here for spring, who showed up and practiced for 2 weeks, then was out for 5.5, 6 weeks. So you're talking about a guy with 6 weeks of college football practice. 6 weeks. So we're kind of throwing him in there to the wolves, to be honest. Like you said, in both of those situations, we've kind of thrown him into the wolves and said, go play. And I think he's done a good job with his eyes of being where he's supposed to be. I mean, there were a few times we had free runners at him. He extended the play and still got the ball where he was supposed to be. And then there were some plays where, he took perimeter when he didn't have to because he thought that that's open. And those things, that's college football because everything's faster. So understanding that, okay, in high school, we could throw that ball out there and we're going to get 5. In college, you're going to throw that thing out there and that's a gain of 0, right? So understanding kind of the differences between college and high school can only happen through game reps because at the end of the day, he's never scrimmaged for us. So this is really his scrimmages, in theory, have been the last 2 games that he's been put in. Those have been his first college experience in a live rep or really in a full-speed environment. And I've been pleased with how he's done. I mean, is there a lot of work to do? Oh, yeah. But that only comes through reps, and that's part of it.
Next will be Joe Lamar from WCTV.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You come up with some very creative play call designs. Obviously, the one that stands out most recently is the one against Pitt, where you brought your tight end in motion. Tight end in motion and putting partner on the center to take the snap from the quarterback's knee. One, how long have you had that play in your arsenal? And 2, how much do you enjoy, making those exotic play calls or designs?
Well, I think that was just, we've run a few quarterback sneaks with Jordan, and they showed that if the quarterback went under center, they were going to squeeze it and deny the sneak. So we knew if we could get somebody else in that position that we could get a sneak. So that was something we wanted to do that we felt would get us a yard or 2, whether it was a 3rd and short or on the goal line. And Wyatt Rector, who was a former quarterback, we felt comfortable enough taking the snap. But I enjoy that, but... And I know that's a really good question, and I know this isn't really the answer you wanted, but I enjoy practice and I enjoy us executing easy things. The tricky stuff and the fancy stuff and all that is fun, but that stuff is not what makes football teams great. You watch teams that win championships. You watch teams that have consistent success. They don't have consistent success tricking people. And yes, are there times that we have to be tricky and be creative, and that's part of game planning? Yes. But good teams can line up and say, mano y mano, fire off the ball, we both yell we're running the power, and we line up and get 3.5 yards, line up and get 4 yards. Right now, to me, that's where we've got to focus on is staying out of our own way, staying out of 1st and 15, 1st and 25, going from 4th and 1 to 4th and 6 in the first half. We got to get rid of all that. So on 4th and 1, we can actually run a play that's 4th and 1.
Next will be Pat Barnum from the Osceola.
Hey, Coach, obviously I know you're early into your evaluation of NC State, but we don't get to later in the week, so just your initial thoughts on what you've seen on film from them defensively.
3-3 stack defense. This is a defense that is going to attack you from the top down. Pretty drastically different than last week in terms of just the overall philosophy of how to play defense. They're going to move the back end a lot. And they're going to try to not allow big plays because of the 3-3 stack structure. Their linebackers are going to fit aggressively, and their defensive linemen are going to try to hold gaps and not let guys get to the second level. I do think their defensive line is talented, and I do think they do a really good job at two-gapping. Their nose guard's a huge person who demands double teams, and their backers all play in unison. So I think they're a really well-coached defense that tries to deny the big play and tries to make you dink and dunk down the field. And their theory is you're either going to get in your own way or they're going to make a play almost outside of their system before you score. But they want to deny the big play.
We'll go back to Ira.
You got to see some more of the young receivers. They didn't get, I guess, a ton of targets, but Brian got out there some more. And what did you see from them as they got more playing time?
I was really pleased with Brian. I mean, he went out there, and, he's been dinged up for a while now, and for him to get back out there and just to get his feet wet, I mean, that's part of it, is you got to go out there, and he didn't, there's not a miraculous play that he made, but he went out there and, for the most part, did his job. He had a huge block for Keyshawn that sprung him for a 9-yard spot route throw that nobody's going to talk about, but for a freshman to get out there and imposed his will on one play on a really good defensive player who's a senior, that's a positive. And that's what we got to have more of. We got to have more of those plays. And for a true freshman to come in here, not have a lot of reps, go out there and on something simple like that, go do his job and do it really well. It's a lot to build on.
All right. We're going to go 2 more guys on for work camp.
So Kenny, I guess after the high water mark of the way you guys performed against North Carolina, just kind of 2 games where the offense hasn't been able to build off of that and improve. And just, I guess, how surprised are you that you have not been able to kind of get better week over week since that game? And is it surprising, or is it things that feel correctable in the short term?
Well, I think you always want to win. I hate losing. Now, you can put that on the record, right? I hate losing. But you can't lose sight of getting better. And sometimes getting better has no reflection on winning. Sometimes you get better through horrible situations like Saturday. That was horrible, for lack of a better term, right? Second half was not good. However, it's a learning experience. So if we don't learn how to get better from it, right, then it's going to continue to happen. And like I told our offense the other day, is there's only one way, to eventually win. And that's to keep working. There's no other solution. You can't point a finger. You can't blame somebody. All you can do is just go back to work. And when you think, well, we've been working. Shouldn't we be getting better? You are. You just haven't seen it yet. You are. You just haven't seen it yet. You are. You just haven't seen it yet. But the moment you stop working, you have no chance. So, yes. Are we frustrated that it's not showing up as quickly as we would like it on Saturdays? Yeah. You want to win. But at the same time, I'm not frustrated enough that I don't believe in our guys, and we're going back to work because that's the only way to make it better. And our guys came out yesterday, and they went to work, and they had a good attitude, and they want to get better. So that's what I'm excited about, is the passion our guys have, and I truly believe they're buying in to the only way to get better is to work.
Last one, we'll go back to Ira.
You guys have been preaching response since you guys got on campus. I know as a team you probably didn't respond the way you hoped to when things started going sideways Saturday. Are you seeing individual instances of guys who, or you're seeing growth in that area?
I think we are, but that's an area that's hard. That's not something that just happens. That's something that is, you've got to continue. It's a hard question to answer because it doesn't happen until it happens. Like, you don't get it. It's like, you try to break a rock with a sledgehammer and you hit it and you hit it and you hit it and you hit it and nothing's happened. Then all of a sudden you hit it one time and it shatters. You don't know when it's going to shatter. You don't know when the work of respond is actually going to all of a sudden break the rock. And then you guys understand what that really means, right? Right now, we're still hammering away, and we're hoping at some point that rock breaks and it clicks for our guys what response looks like, right? But I do think this. Our guys battled all football game. You can turn on that tape, and for, I'd say 90% of the guys in the field, there's a few plays that we got to get corrected and we got to give more effort. But 90% of the guys in the field battled, and they fought. And that's the first step of response. Now, the second step of response is you got to be confident enough to go make plays. You got to get that mentality about yourself that even through bad, somebody's got to make a play. This is my play to make. And that's what we got to have, is when we're having those lulls, somebody's got to make a play. Just one play. Because one play feeds another, feeds another, feeds another. But we got to make that one play. So yes, I do think our guys are learning how to respond. Have we done it yet? No. But once again, does that mean that it's not a focus? Does that mean we're not trying to improve on that? No. We'll get there, and it's all part of the process.